So pastor crushes liberal argument. Looks like this is referring to abortion. So let's see what this is about.
Let's talk about the babies.
Let's talk about developing the science so that we can implant an embryo on the lining of the abdominal wall so y'all can carry the ones that all these babies you want.
Okay, but
so you can go through the process. You can do a cesarean, deliver it.
You oppose 570?
God of the Bible, Jesus says, I am the way, the truth,
I have
and the life.
significant concerns about the unforeseen consequences of the law.
Of what? What
570.
What does he have concerns about?
My concerns are unfounded allegations against women who have a spontaneous miscarriage of murder because baby daddy wanted the baby and he thinks she did something to it. So now there's all kinds of issues brought on the woman.
That'd be an invalid concern. The bill has nothing to do with miscarriages. It has to do with
but
malice
the
of
bill
forethought.
doesn't say
It does.
If a man
You haven't
decides
read
that
it.
the woman murdered the miscarriage, you say miscarriage is fine.
Miscarriages are fine. They're
so
horrible.
an IUD it prevents the implantation of an egg. Okay.
Tennessee is an individual state, and they have their own.
Some of these medications induce a miscarriage. What if a guy wanted to say that in some activity,
I would love for us to see
not
that.
mifepristone, not an IUD,
I would absolutely
not whatever,
love
but
for
some activity that his baby mama did, right, caused that miscarriage, and so he wants her prosecuted for murder.
Yeah.
It can
Yeah,
happen.
so, no.
No, it's an yeah, you never at all in your perfect
No. So all the bill says, and I think you would agree with most of it. The bill says that you're human for fertilization. That's all biological science says that. There's no dispute on that. That's an unassailable fact. We're all human from fertilization, and it just simply says that all.
You have human DNA.
Yeah, so every human is human from the moment of fertilization. So it just says that every human being in Tennessee deserves to be equally protected under the law.
So when do I get the right to, if I'm pregnant, when do I get to write them off on my taxes? Claim them as a dependent on my taxes. Healthcare during pregnancy.
I think you ought to be able to. Yeah, because I think consistency in the law would say yes, you're human from fertilization, so you immediately have a human being inside of you, and so I would agree with that. But that would be something as a consequence.
Conversely, would you support laws barring the use of anabolic steroids, which can significantly decrease a man's ability to father a child? My stepdaughter and her husband had a horrible time conceiving because of his past use.
Yeah.
Now they're left with embryos in an IVF facility.
Right.
And she had placenta accreta, so her placenta was embedded in her uterus. She nearly died. In fact, if she were giving that birth to Jack now in Texas, she would die.
I'm terribly
they
sorry to
saved
hear
her uterus. They've got these embryos. You want to carry them to term?
Well, actually, there's a.
I just wanted to introduce myself and thank you for coming today.
It's my honor.
I'm Monty Fritz.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Tell me your name.
Jeff Durbin.
Jeff Durbin.
Yes, sir.
I thought I recognized your face and the beard or something.
Yeah, it's probably the
Thank
beard.
you for coming out here today. What's home for you?
Thank you. What's that?
What's home for you?
Arizona, Phoenix.
Arizona. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
So before I know he got interrupted there, Pastor Durbin, I'll say this. He brings in very good points. Well, even this woman brings very valid concerns where it's circumstances such as miscarriages, which are absolutely unfortunate and disastrous. And just it's just really difficult, a mourning period for women to go through that. And I think our culture needs to talk about that more often. However, just as he stated, this bill, it looks like it's in Louisiana, I believe, has nothing to do with miscarriages themselves. It has to do with protecting the human being from fertilization, which the majority of scientists have concluded is true, that life begins at conception. That's a known fact. That's completely true. And in fact, babies can feel pain at 22 weeks. They can feel pain. But this goes beyond just 22 weeks. The 22-week period. This goes beyond that. The idea with abortion is that it ends the life of a living being, a living species, but especially a living human being, immediately when that act is conducted. But something such as a miscarriage, for example, sadly, is that the baby is already not living anymore.
So much. It's an honor. Thank you so much.
Apologize for the interruption, ma'am. I thought I recognized his face. Apologize for the interruption.
Oh, no, it's fine.
It's good to see you.
So, is he a politician here? Is that who it was?
Pin? He looks like he's got a pin.
I don't even know. I'm so sorry.
I don't know. I'm seeing a pin that looks like I think it's one of the I'm not part of the house pins.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sorry to hear about your daughter.
So much unequal treatment.
If the child dies,
That's terrible, right?
It's just unequal treatment. So what do women do?
Can I ask you a question about that?
embryo in a facility. That now, if they were to say,
Now,
destroy it,
sorry.
she can't carry it.
He interrupted when you were you brought up a good important point.
She has no uterus anymore.
Yeah, you brought up an important point.
So what happens to those eggs?
Yeah.
Those embryos.
Yeah.
They're embryos. They're not babies. They're embryos. You can't freeze a baby. You can freeze an embryo.
They are already developed humans. They're your daughter's babies.
They're not babies. They're embryos.
Well, the moment that sperm and egg meet,
okay, I accept your statement that they're human because they have human DNA, but you can't freeze a baby. You can freeze an embryo.
Okay,
So
no,
there's a
according to
difference.
the law now, the law now allows you to do that. What we would say
No, but I mean,
is...
you can freeze an embryo and revive it, and it's fine. If you froze a baby, it doesn't work. So
Exactly, because you're at the developmental stage at that stage, yeah. So there are distinctions.
Actually, so
But
you're not even a fetus.
you brought up a good point. I'll say two things. One is a woman at my church this last week has been trying to have snowflake babies. These are these babies that are all created and frozen on ice. And women are trying to adopt those so they can give those babies a chance to develop and to grow, to give them their life. And so we're heavily invested in that too. I appreciate
So
the fact
you're supporting the idea of someone adopting the embryo.
the babies that are on ice, the developing humans that are on ice right
Frozen
now.
embryos.
Yeah, the
Okay.
developing humans that are on ice.
I'm actually using the medical term.
Yeah,
It's
but
an embryo.
you and I started as embryos, correct?
It's an embryo.
Yeah,
we
and
started.
at the very moment of your
I
conception,
started half as an egg.
yeah, the very moment of your conception and my conception, all of the
You have
biological data of you was at that moment.
No, I'm not disputing the fact that the fertilized egg contains the full DNA from the male and the female.
So it's fully human from fertilization.
I'm not disputing that.
Good. Okay, so we're in
It's
agreement.
got human DNA.
We're in
But it is
agreement.
not a baby.
We're in agreement
It's not a viable organism.
all of us go through development throughout our lives from that stage, all different stages. We can't kill other human beings because they're at a different developmental stage. Like, when we
This
get
law would kill women if they had a miscarriage.
no, it would not. You're bringing that up against a fallacious argument. I'd encourage you not to use that again because it's going to look very foolish if you do.
Well, I know Kentucky they're charging women with murder.
This
for
law
miscarriages.
says nothing about miscarriages. That's a tragedy. It's a sad circumstance. It's not with malice of forethought. This law treats every human being, which you agreed you're human from fertilization, equally in the state of Tennessee. You mentioned a moment ago something so important, and I'm glad you said it. You talked about not being treated equal. And so you're very passionate about that. But that's what this bill says. There should be equality of justice for every human being.
This is a great point that he brings up, and I'll say this: this pastor has a great composure. He has excellent composure and patience when speaking with someone that is also argumentative, but coming from a good place, I would say. I think this woman is coming from trying to learn and understand, but still be, debating in a good way, not in a hostile way. So I appreciate that from her. But at the end of the day, he makes a very valid point in that this law against abortion is not referring to miscarriages, not referring to these special circumstances. It's referring to and pointing directly at the fact of the overwhelming consensus of, I think, at least 80% of the abortions are elective. Nothing to do with the mother's health, nothing to do with miscarriages. And she is sadly holding this Planned Parenthood sign, which has proven day in and day out to sell baby parts in conventions. This was leaked in Project Veritas videos from, I forget his name, but it was leaked in Project Veritas videos many years ago. This has happened consistently. And this is what Planned Parenthood is known for doing. For the majority of their funding, that's what they're known for doing. And sadly, they're not really known for protecting women in the sense of using the majority of their funds to help women with going through having a baby. They're therefore eliminating babies. And that's the sad reality.
Agree with that, right? And so you're very passionate about that. But that's what this bill says. There should be equality of justice for every human being. You agree with that, right?
Yes.
That's what this bill is.
Yes, but I disagree that an embryo cannot survive on its own. You come up with some way to incubate these outside the woman's body.
Yeah.
You come up with some way to implant them in somebody else and in men, and then fine, take that embryo and do that with it. But
Yeah.
it doesn't feel, it's not right to get in the middle of this sort of a decision that a woman has to go through, when in this bloody state she could well die from.
Can I tell you what it sounds to me like you're saying, and you tell me if I have it correct?
I'm telling the government doesn't belong between a woman and her doctor.
So if I could
and
kind
a
of
family
restate
and their
it,
doctor.
it
That's
sounds
what
to me
I love this argument all the time that the government shouldn't come between a doctor and a patient. Okay, but in circumstances like this where there's a legal justification for murder that is going on. Or no, sorry, not justification, just the abolition of murder that should occur. Just like everybody would agree, forced sterilization, slavery, acts of such as prostitution, sex trafficking, all these acts should be prosecuted under the law. This should not be condoned in any form or fashion. However, she's bringing up the point that government should not come between the doctor and the patient. But if the doctor is approving something that is taking a life away, then this act needs to be condemned, needs to be punished. And this is what this argument doesn't really address, because when back in 2020, we all know what was going on, and everybody was telling people to take them, to listen to the employer, listen to the doctors, take them. And a lot of these people on this political side were stating that you don't have any rights to say no to that, to the big V. And everyone was all pro for taking the big V for the betterment of the community. But when it comes to your body, your choice, this is the problem with that argument.
Like, you're not disputing that the child in the womb is a person with the right to life. You're simply saying that if a woman has to be inconvenienced with pregnancy, that person should die.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, what are you saying? Is that a human being in the womb from the moment of fertilization?
How many times have we been down
But
this?
she did agree with
How many
it.
times have we been down this?
You said that.
Stop.
So
stop,
no. So
stop.
you said that. So
You
then,
stop.
what does
To
that
me-
person deserve under law? That's my question.
To me, when they can stand on their own and they survive on their own.
Being able to stand?
No. Survive on their own.
You
So
don't
what
believe that.
about-
Hold on, real fast. Sweetheart, you don't believe that.
I mean,
Oh man, see, she may be trolling. Now I may be taking that back. She may be trolling, because children are not be able to thrive and be independent on their own. Heck, many 15-year-olds aren't able to do that on their own. Having basic life skills, eating nutritious foods, all those things, these need to be instilled by guardians. So if this is true, let me think. If this is true, that the lives of organisms are only meant to be protected when independent and not dependent, that means that all babies that are born from birth until 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, all of them are not viable and are worthy of protection, according to this statement that she's making. And that's where this seems to be silly and ridiculous.
actually viably, like your blood, got your own blood.
You don't
spike.
believe that. You don't believe that
Who
a
are
human.
you to tell me what I believe?
Because
Who are you
a
to
moment
tell me
ago you
what I
gave
believe?
me an understanding of your real sense of justice and care for other human beings. So I believe you. I believe that you care about other human beings, that you care about equality. I'm saying I believe you. And so I'm saying that I don't think you believe what you just said, because I don't think that you would say to my twin daughters that were born at 29 weeks gestation, spent 2.5 months in the NICU, I don't think you would say that when they came out, we should allow them to just die. We shouldn't try to save their lives.
So 30 years ago, they would have.
They wouldn't have just let them die. They would have
No,
desperately
they would have done
hoped
what they could have,
They
but
would have done what they could have.
likely not.
Why would they have
At
done
this
that?
moment-
Why would they have done that? Because they're not viable on their own. Neither are newborns.
So what should happen to children in the NICU and the hospital?
We're doing.
Do you see? You see it.
It's an
I don't
important
see it, and I
question.
disagree. I
You
disagree
see it.
that you have
Does it
any.
depend on if they're wanted or not? Like they should
No,
live
it
if the
doesn't
mom
depend on
wants
if
it?
they want it or not.
May I say
And
something
you can
too?
take a step back.
So
you take a step back.
May I-
We should
may
have
I-
NICUs?
Please take a step back.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
May I say something to you just respectfully towards you, humbly?
You're being respectful, and I'm enjoying the engagement
I
conversation.
I genuinely mean this. I think that deep down, and you don't have to agree with us, that you know what we're saying is the truth, but you have another commitment that's in collision with everything else you believe about human beings. You have one commitment, I think, normally in your life, I believe you,
I feel like
but you
this,
have a
okay,
commitment on this
If you really
that's...
want to know what I believe that is, as medical science develops, which it has. Like when I was born,
I have to stop there because, wow, he makes a really good point here that so many people, and I think all of us are guilty of this to many degrees, in that we almost are deluded into believing that we want to be pursuing truth to all costs, to all ends, especially as being a Christian, a devout Christian, a Bible-believing person. And sometimes our bias comes out when we have a commitment to a certain belief that is contradictory to the gospel, especially when it comes to abortion. And she makes a really great, or she doesn't make a great point, but she illustrates this beautifully when she states that she believes that humans are alive from fertilization, that we were all embryos at one point in our lives. We were all at this stage of life. And these organisms are worth being protected. Human beings, ideally.
I wouldn't have. I feel like
But you have a commitment on this
If you really
that's-
want to know what I believe that is, as medical science develops, which it has. Like when I was born, I wouldn't have survived at 20. I would have probably had a hard time surviving at 35 weeks, probably.
Yeah.
Back in those days.
Yeah.
And as medical science has advanced, we have the ability to do what we can for those babies who've gotten that far, who were delivered and are now or
Like what are we at 21 weeks now? I think
don't know,
we can do
whatever.
29
22
weeks.
weeks.
27
But
weeks.
as medical science advances, that point moves. It didn't used to be there. But the thing is, if you can't take the frozen embryos and you got the technology to take those frozen embryos and put them in something and nurture them and grow them in an artificial womb. That doesn't exist yet.
Okay. Can I just say one thing? Just to meditate on this, okay? Just to meditate. I mean, I totally respect you. Why would we be concerned with advancing medical science if it's just okay to kill them anyways? I think you know, and I know that we do that anyways because we advance the medical science because we know that we want to love and protect other human beings, and so we do everything we can to fight for their lives at whatever stage they're at. I know you truly believe that. My name is Jeff, by the way. I'm taking off. We can love each other even though we disagree. And by the way, your face reminds me of my mom. Yeah, I know in a good way. It's very pleasant to look at. Yeah.
That's funny. But yeah, this is really interesting conversation because I think there's several takeaways that I have from this interaction. So first, I applaud Jeff's ability to lead this conversation, to be humble, to be patient and loving. I think Christ calls us to do this when we're speaking to people. Now, I don't know if she's a believer in Christ or not, but outside of that, he did a good job of demonstrating humbleness and allowing her to really take in what he's stating. And, only Lord knows that if she is actually meditating on this, we should pray for her that she will meditate on these thoughts about abortion and the atrocities that it causes to babies, the lives of babies, to millions of babies every single year in the United States and around the world, and how normalized this barbaric act has become. So that's one takeaway I would say. The next takeaway I would say also is the arguments that she makes, it's very thin. There's not too many arguments, and especially near the end of that interaction where she stated that medical advancements have come. And because of medical advancements, I believe we should be valuing life even more so. We should be valuing humans and being able to ensure that babies can survive more so than eliminate them. I mean, I know of someone personally through mutual friends where a person had certain surgeries for their baby to make sure that he survives and the daughter or son survives. Such as medical procedures for a premature pregnancy. All these things are very critical to be able to do this due to medical advancements. And because of medical advancements, we have the ability to save more babies, not eliminate them from our society, eliminating God's creation. So I think there's lots of information that can come from this. I think we can all learn from being able to have a productive conversation with somebody that we disagree with. I think we should aim to seek to listen and understand and speak out of the humbleness of your heart and out of love. And I think that's how people can be drawn to be against abortion and ultimately toward loving Christ. If you enjoy this video, please like, share, comment your thoughts below on this. Do you believe that he made a good case against abortion in this conversation? Do you have any critiques for Jeff Durbin, this pastor right here, on his approach? Please share with your friends. Thank you all so much. God bless.